And hello, everybody, and welcome to Synergy Theater. You have found our YouTube channel, and I am so glad that you are here. Tonight's performance of My Dearest Love, an improvised series of dangerous letters, begins right now. My name is Ken Adams, and I am the artistic director of Synergy Theater. When we're out in the real world, we perform at the beautiful Lesher Center for the Performing Arts in Walnut Creek. And when we are not out in the real world, we are delighted to come to you every single week on Thursdays and Fridays with a brand new, completely improvised play. If you are here and you would like to interact with us in order to give us some suggestions for tonight's show, we would love you to do that. And you have to go ahead and log into your YouTube channel. By logging into your YouTube channel, you'll be able to access the interactive chat feature, and that is how you will be able to interact with us tonight. Synergy Theater is a nonprofit arts organization, and like all nonprofit arts organizations, we're having a challenging time because the pandemic pretty much took away all of our usual means of earning a living. If you are of the means and are willing, we would greatly appreciate a small donation. All you have to do is go to our website at synergytheater.com, click on Support Synergy Theater, and help us keep bringing live free improvisational theater to you and the whole world via the magic of the internet. Thank you all for being here so very much. And now, please welcome to the screen the rest of the cast for tonight's performance of My Dearest Love. Hello, everybody, and welcome aboard. Everybody can wave to the audience and know that they are all waving back to you. All right. As always, our show is going to be inspired by suggestions from you, the audience. Now, tonight's show is an 18th century melodrama written in the style of an epistolary novel in which the characters are going to be writing letters to each other. So, the first thing that we're going to ask you for is our characters' names. Go ahead and think of a name that kind of reminds you of an 18th century British name, something like Lord so-and-so or Madam so-and-so. Really, all we want is a title and a first name, or just even a first name. Throw that up right onto the YouTube chat as soon as you have an inspiration. Cast, as soon as you see a name that strikes your fancy, just go ahead and call it out, and then go ahead and take on that character name on your screen there. As our audience is putting up some names there, I will mention that the other suggestions we are going to require from you have to do with what you would like to see happen as the show goes on. However, we're not going to stop and ask you for that. So, as you are watching and you have an idea for what might happen next, just jump on chat and put it in there. We'll watch them as they scroll up past us. And if we see something that we can grab and put into the show, we'll try our best to do that. We might not get everything in there, but we'll try. All right, the names are popping up there. Folks, if you see a name, go ahead and call it out and take it.
I'll take Madam Y.
I'll take Miss Austere.
I'll take Judith Wainsmore.
I will take Coroner Clapton.
I will take Lady Posperine.
Great, and I will take Nursemaid Novella.
All right, does everybody have a name then? Excellent job. All right. Now, there is one more question that we're going to ask of you before we get started. And then, as I said, we'll ask you to just put up suggestions there as they occur to you. The suggestion that we're going to ask you to start the scene with is, who is writing the first letter? So pick one of the characters' names, any of the 6 that you see on the screen there, and type it in. The first one that I see when I stop talking, that's who will take, and that is the person who will write the first letter. After that, we're going to ask you who that person is writing to. So we'll be looking for another name as well. As soon as that first name pops up, we will grab it In the meantime, our cast is frantically trying to memorize everybody's new names. And let's give that just one more moment. There we go, Madam Y and Judith. Very, very nice. So Madam Y will write the first letter to Judith. All right. Excellent job. Thank you all. And now I am going to give our cast places. Kindly head off into the magical netherworld of the theater. I am going to black out my screen for a moment. And when I come back, we will begin tonight's exciting episode of My Dearest Love, a series of dangerous letters. My dear reader, the various letters that are herewithin contained were never intended for public consumption. They are private letters, written quite frequently in the heat of passion, and more often than not, revealing secrets, feelings, thoughts, and confessions that the letter writer would more happily die than ever have willingly exposed to the punishing gaze of society. However, now that all of the letter writers, except for myself, are either dead, in prison, or hopelessly insane, I have no compunction whatsoever in assembling all of the letters, arranging them in their sequence of events, and presenting them to you, my discerning readership. The events that are chronicled here take place between March 17th and November 2nd in the year of our Lord 1748. It has taken me years to gather these letters through bribery, blackmail, and downright theft from the hands of the various people into whose possession they had fallen. I have changed no names. I have blunted no edges. I only ask that as you read the lives of these poor souls laid bare, you judge them fairly by the yardstick of the most shameful secrets that you yourself withhold. My dear reader, I give you My Dearest Love, a series of dangerous letters.
My dearest sister Judith, I write to you with a trembling hand, for I cannot believe now, even hours later, what my eyes saw at the marketplace on this morning, a morning like any other morning, except for the visage which I did see as I was walking out to get an orange for my breakfast. It was the nursemaid Novella, the very nursemaid who absconded with your child, our child so many years ago, that we have been searching for all these years, sister. The child which was my beloved baby and was taken from my arms, and that I have been traveling country to country all this while and thought I would never see again. Yes, it was her. I know it was her. And I followed her all the way through the stalls, and I overheard her, as I was hiding behind one of them, say to the marketman, I overheard her say these words.
Yes, my baby is ill.
She said, my baby. You know that's not her baby. You know that's not her baby. And just when I was about to confront her, I turned around and she had completely disappeared. Oh, sister, I had her right in my hands, and then she was gone. What shall I do? Where shall I find her? Our baby is alive.
Dearest Sister Y, from Judith. Oh, dear sister, much has happened in the 2 weeks since you have wrote me of Novella, your sighting of her in the marketplace. Upon receipt of your letter, I hurriedly ran to the marketplace and went to the person that I know is the eyes and ears of the whole entire village. I rapped at the door of Coroner Clapton. He opened the door, still slightly hungover from last night's drink, saw me and asked me,
Well, have you come for information about the baby?
I was shocked that he knew, and I said as such, I am shocked that you know. He laughed and said,
Well, know this. The disappearance of that baby had much to do with my success and fortune.
I was shocked by this, and I pressed him for more information. He beckoned me in, sat me down, and spoke.
You might not know, but I am the black sheep of that family. It was I who was intended to inherit the fortune, and yet when that tiny scampling was born, all of the money was suddenly diverted to him. Well, nobody treats me like that. No one at all.
Oh, yes, I decided to change tactics. How unfair that you were cheated of such inheritance. I bet you did everything you could to make sure that that baby was out of the way. Tell me more.
Well, you see, I hired that nursemaid. I put her into the house, and I arranged for that kidnapping. You look at me aghast, as if you did not know I was of the family. And yet, there is a reason for that.
I leaned forward in my chair, curious to know the reason. He took a long moment's pause, delighting in my curiosity, and then he finally said,
Because I was cast out as only a child.
I was softened by this. He didn't seem the criminal that I had once thought he was seconds ago. I decided to start to concoct a plan. I think it's terrible that you were cast out when you were a child, and I think that you should have what's rightfully yours. However, that baby is my sister's and almost considered mine. Perhaps we could come to some sort of arrangement. If you could help me go to Nursemaid Novella's house and perhaps stake it out and get the child back, I can ensure that you're reinstated in the family. He laughed, and my heart sank.
An arrangement with you? Your family is poison to me. Do you even know who I am? Do you know that your father, the patriarch of this family, had a younger brother? No, you don't. Do you even know that that younger brother had a son? No, you don't, because your father has blotted my branch out of your family tree. And now you come simpering back to me, trying to worm me into your good graces. Well, it's too late. The child is mine, and once that child is dead, the inheritance is mine as well.
What if, and then he left his own house, and I was sitting there all alone. But then I decided.
Get out!
Then I finally left. But then I waited behind his wood pile. And lo and behold, about a half hour later, I saw him leaving, cloaked and with a basket. I saw him hit the country road on foot, and I followed behind him many paces, keeping my distance. Every now and then he'd stop and cough or look at the wind. But he'd kept going. Soon after a while, he arrived at a small cottage. He came to the front door, rapped a special code on the door, and suddenly, guess who opened the door, dear sister? Nursemaid Novella. She opened the door and her face lit up with the emotions of happiness that I had never seen before. She grabbed him, pulled him inside the cottage, and closed the door. But after I heard the door close, I heard the plaintive cry of a baby. My dear sister, I have been camped out in these woods for over a week. I have not eaten anything but berries. I am requesting that you come to my aid to storm the house. But I did feel it was important you knew the information of who Coroner Clapton really is. Perhaps we have some power or some sort of persuasion. I'm not quite sure what to do. I am being eaten by bugs and nibbled on by rats, but I will stay here steadfastly until you come. Your dearest sister, Judith.
Madam Y, to Lady Proserpine. Lady Proserpine, if you would take care of my sweet cat, I need to leave town for a moment. Thank you.
From Lady Proserpine to Madam Y and Miss Judith Wainsmore. My dearest daughters, why I have taken care of your cat, though why you insist on calling me by my full name, I will never understand. Judith, I am glad that you are healing from the animal and insect bites that you incurred, laying out bare on the side of Coroner Clapton and that awful woman, Nurse Novella's home. I think it is time that I share with you the truth of our family history. I write to you both to let you know that my husband, your father, had a dark secret. His brother, yes, Coroner Clapton is his brother. He was to inherit your inheritance. But you see, Coroner Clapton is a murderer. Your father could not let that happen. And so it was 6 years ago that I had enlisted the assistance of a woman named Miss Austere. I had pulled Miss Austere into my home. She arrived, poor, disheveled. And at this moment, when she walked into my house, I said to her, Miss Austere,
Yes.
I know you to be the neighbor's scullery maid. And I know that your father was murdered. I wish for you to bring down the coroner Clapton's name, for he was the one who murdered your father. To which she replied,
I have seen that he has been enlisted on the pirate ship, the Dread Roberts, and I will go and be a scullery maid on that ship with him so that I can get close to him, and I will be the avenger.
and with that, she made her way out. I share this news with you as background information so that you understand just why that man loathes this family so. And so you will not be surprised to hear that just last week, I came face to face with that awful, evil, heathen of a man. We were in the Lake District. Yes, he came upon me because I had summoned him, at which point he said,
Lady Proserpine, you have quite the amount of gall to call me publicly hence.
I replied, Clapton, I thought that you would have been thrown overboard, out into the South China Sea, perhaps, but I see you are back to providing nothing but awfulness to this family. Give back that child at once.
It was you who sent me off on my pirate ways, and now I am back bolder than ever.
Just at that moment, I heard a cry. Why? And Judith, you would be happy to know that my grandson is alive. Out from behind him crawled that awful nursemaid, Novella. And she said this.
You can't have him. He's my baby now.
In that moment, I slapped the Clapton. And I punched his nose. And I wrestled him to the ground. Knowing that the nursemaid would do anything to save him, I swore, nursemaid, I will kill him. I will kill him. You hand over that child now. She responded.
Go ahead and kill him. It's my baby.
And she ran off.
No.
I got all these bug bites.
You see, though I threatened murder, I'm not a murderess. Clapton, I said. I wish death upon you, but it will not come at my hands. You bring me back that child, or else, I warned. He said,
I tell you, that child dies.
And I will help you! I'm always at your side, your trusty little scullery maid, Miss Austere.
Miss Austere in that moment plunged the knife deep into his left thigh, wounding him. And though I know not what happened to Coroner Clapton, I fear he probably is not dead. But Miss Austere and I whisked ourselves away lest we be caught by the authorities. My dears, I did my best to get that baby back for you, and I continue to try. But perhaps one of you can take the next step. Your ever-loving mother, Lady Proserpine.
Madam Y to Lady Proserpine. Dear Lady Proserpine, I will insist on calling you that, Mamma, until you prove that you are, in fact, worthy of the title Mamma. You have always let me down every step of my life, and you continue to do so. I was hiding in the bushes with my beloved sister, with my baby this far from my reaches, when you insisted on sweeping in and yet again letting him out of my clutches by taking the limelight for yourself. And once again, I have lost my child. If you had not in the past kept the story of our evil uncle from us, this never would have happened. I would have been on the lookout for the evil kidnapping nursemaid, and my baby would still be mine. But now, at least you have given me one piece of good advice, which is to take matters into my own hands, which is what I have done. Given the information which I now have in hand, I stowed away upon the dread Robert's pirate ship and found my baby there among the pirates. Robert, as you had predicted, was not dead, but only wounded. And having cut off his own leg and put in its place a peg, had just as much rage as always, but even more fuel for his rage with the pain of an amputated leg and the lust for his new sidekick who you had provided to him. With baby in hand, never leaving his side, and his new love, the Miss Austere, who he liked to call Aussie, he would taunt me as I hid in a rum barrel, watching them with my beloved son on their knee, walking up and down the deck singing shanties.
Ho, ho, ho,
Oh,
bottle of
love rum.
Well, you seem surprised that I have made a lover of she who was hired to kill me.
He said, coming over to my rum barrel and peering in, because I guess I wasn't so good at hiding after all.
You should know that you are not so good at hiding after all.
I spit rum in his face and said, "Fine, you found me out, but I have a tiger's blood, and I will fight you for my child no matter what it takes."
Well, why don't we see if you can match wits with not only I, aka the dread pirate Robert, my new mistress, Miss Austere, and the nursemaid Novella, who in fact is the prisoner of your baby. Novella, do come out!
And so she did.
What do you
And she-
want from me?
You see, I have gathered this group of villains together, all now engaged against you.
And Mamma, Lady Proserpine, you would have thought that all was lost. But the dread pirate Robert had one weakness, which was his desire to twist the knife and show that he deserved to be a lord at heart. So rather than just kill me there, he put forth a challenge.
Rather than kill you here, I put forth this challenge. If you marry me, I will let the baby live and give up all claims to the inheritance. How can I do aught but when I am at last this close to you?
Well, it was the most vile, putrid, sickening offer I had ever heard. And yet, with my baby's life at stake, what could I do but say yes? So I swallowed my bile, handed him my hand, and with the sniveling, snarling, cackling two sidekick women by his side, he cackled his triumph and took me as his betrothed. We now return, Lady Proserpine, to the family chateau, where Lord Robert will take his place as my lord and master and claim his inheritance. You see, he has gotten me and what is mine and what is ours after all. Yours, Madam Roberts.
Lady Proserpine, to her dearest daughter Judith. Judith, I have taken refuge at the Sisterhood of Novellus Monastery. Judith, you will recall that horrible day when your sister, now married to your uncle. Yes, this horror of incest taking place, shaming our family. You will recall that day when your horrible uncle came back to the estate with his new wife, your nephew, and somewhere, though they were hidden at the moment, his two concubines in tow. Ah, Judith, I wish to replay in my mind the horrible moment when they came upon you and me sunning on the veranda, when our dearest Y came forward looking sullen on the hands of her husband and said,
You have my body, but you will never have my heart.
well, Clapton, being envious and hungry for everything, retorted with this.
I shall have what is rightfully mine.
In that moment, Judith, you will recall when you came over to fan me, for I had nearly fainted when he claimed the home by saying,
This is my domain, and now, my dear wife, I require a moment's conversation in privacy.
Judith, you and I made our way indoors while they stayed on the veranda. And while you went to nurse yourself with some tea, I stayed and listened and heard them say,
My dearest love, I speak that not in irony. I tell you, I care.
that vile man said. Y responded,
Why do you mock me? You know that I would do anything for my child's life, but you have caused me nothing but heartache and pain. You are a cruel and evil, heartless man. How can you speak of love?
unsatisfied with her protestations, he pulled her closer and said,
I have changed, like the sapling resembles not the tree. So too the man resembles not that boy. Can it be so hard for you to believe that I have always loved you from afar? There are closer marriages made than first cousins, my dear.
In just that moment, his two mistresses popped out, ruining his plans. Nursemaid Novella screamed this.
You died! You stole that baby! It was mine!
Goodness, stabbed again.
He was stabbed in the shoulder.
Oh,
Miss Austere responded,
Way to go, Nurse Matey! You're the best!
and Coroner Clapton said,
Madam Wife, I beg of you to look into my eyes, and if you see truth, save my life now.
and to my surprise, she said,
I do, and I have a memory of a tiny little boy playing in the maze in our back garden. That was you, my little childhood playmate.
Yes,
he said,
yes, 'twas I.
Oh, my poor little boy. You're just a poor little victim of a cruel machine.
and she banished the nursemaid Novella and Miss Austere off the grounds. And then she came inside. Judith, you were not around, but this explains my departure. Why my daughter, who always inside had something against me, said this to me.
Lady Proserpine, I knew in my heart that you were not a mother, not a caring soul, but the evil sap of a wicked, twisted tree which would sever its own branches and leave them to rot on the ground. You shall go, and I shall replant this acorn so it may grow strong and robust in the land where it belongs.
And with that, Judith, I apologize, but wasting no time, I ran off. And so here I am at the monastery. Judith, I apologize for all the hurts I have caused in the lies or the omissions of truths. But Judith, know this, I have loved you in earnest, you and your sister. Your dearest mother, later Proserpine.
Miss Judith, to her sister, Madam Y. I know you are very angry at me. In fact, I know that you are enraged at me. 2 weeks ago, I took your child, and I have been hiding out in an undisclosed location since. I can imagine your eyes popping out of your head now as you read my hand. I can imagine that you are thinking about strangling me. Please, dear sister, everything is fine, and I plan on returning. It's just so much has happened that I feel like our family is even more wounded than it was before. And your plans to, whatever you said about rerouting the acorn and everything, I think that's all well and good. But can we please stop blaming our mother for everything? I'm essentially holding the young child as a bargaining chip until you and I and our mother can meet together and perhaps start to repair some of the damage that has been done. I think you fail to remember, dear sister, that most of the stuff that has caused ruin in our family, that has pushed your now husband and uncle, and also my uncle, away, were all our father's doing. I remind you, our father is dead, and we didn't know him very well, but upon discovery of several letters and accounts of people about town, he sounds like he was not a good person. I feel like we're blaming our mother for actions of our father. Please, dear sister, I know that it broke your heart to have your baby taken away from you yet again, and I did not mean that hurt. In fact, he has been miserable with just me. He hates me. He wants to be with his mother again. So I propose this. Meet us in the wood. Me and Mother will be there, and we will talk. I hope that we can mend. And as a strange family with the coroner, or I guess the pirate, or whoever he is, I'm willing to make this family with him. But we must move on together and forget the wounds of the past that weren't even caused by us. I hope to see you in the wood. It's next to that one willow tree that looks like it's falling over. You know the one. Your dear sister, Judith.
Lord Dread Pirate Robert, to his beautiful life, I say my life, but I mean my wife, for they are one and the same, Madam Y. My dearest, dearest love, it has been 2 weeks since you left our home in summons to your sister's letter to meet your mother and sister in the woods and reclaim your child. Having heard not from you since, I know not whether you and your mother have reconciled yet or not. But I do know one thing. I know that you are the victim of a cruel conspiracy to pull you away from ironically, the one person who truly loves you. For shortly after you left, I disconsolately walked out amongst the shrubbery in our garden, and there, to my surprise, I overheard a conversation between your mother and your sister. Your sister was holding your child, and with all guard dropped, your sister confessed this to your mother.
Honestly, you and I should just run away with the baby and cut our sister, or your daughter and my sister, out forever.
To which your mother replied with a sardonic grin on her face.
Judith, I knew you took after me in the brains department.
Your sister obsequiously fawned over your mother to gain even more of her favor thusly.
Well, I learned from the best, but we must work together if we're going to pull this off.
And it was then that your mother confessed an evil deed concerning the father of your baby.
Judith, I will confess to you something I have told not a soul. Your sister's husband died at my hand.
Your sister barely blinked in disbelief, so hardened a soul does she possess. She retorted,
Oh, well, I thought it was you.
and not only that murder, but another murder as well was confessed to by your evil, insidious dam.
You might recall that your father enjoyed taking a little bit of brandy in his tea. Well, my dear, I insisted that he join me one evening, and I tinkered a little bit with his drink. And you might ask me why I did this, Judith.
Why?
She asked.
Because You, as my eldest and my true daughter, my only daughter, I wanted you to get the inheritance.
Your sister, Miss Judith, replied.
Mother, you did such a good thing by getting rid of that terrible man. I only hope that I can truly rise above and be not only your best daughter, but the daughter that carries on the family line. What must we do?
And then, to prove her intent on carrying on the family line, she confessed that it was she who murdered her neighbor's husband.
It was me that murdered my neighbor's husband.
It was quick and to the point, and therefore the murder that had been laid at my feet, you see, belonged at the feet of another, my dear wife. I imagine it will take a moment for you to reconcile all of these murders, but once you do, surely you will see that out of all the crimes committed, mine only was truly loving you. Pray, believe these words. Pray, act as your heart dictates. And pray, restore to me my dearest love. Your loving husband, Clapton.
Madam Y, to Lord Robert. My dearest love, my husband Robert. I do hope this letter finds you. I have attached it to the leg of a pigeon which comes to sit on the ledge of the nunnery here, where I have been captured and held in the tower since last you have heard from me. It was 2 weeks that you wrote to me since I left, and it has now been another 3 or 4, I am guessing, by the scratches that I have put on the walls since receiving your letter. I pray that you have not forgotten me, and that you have not been too desolate since hearing back. My mother and my sister's actions make sense to me now, having read your letter. They are, as you know, from what you have overheard, not good people. And they have, in fact, absconded with my beloved son and held me prisoner here. They have told the nuns that it is I who is dark of heart and twisted of soul, and that I need to be scrubbed clean by the word of God and held here for my own good and for the good of the family and the community. So I've been trapped here in a tower, wearing rags and scrubbing the floor and being prayed and sung to day in and day out. But they do not have my heart, my love. I think of you and of my son, and how someday I will find you all again as we found each other once before. Please take care of our beloved manor, tend to the trees, trim the maize, and I hope that one day we will again be able to plant acorns together. Your beloved Madam Y.
Orna Clapton to Madam Y. My dearest love, it has been just 3 days since I received your last, and quickly putting thought to action, I have effected a plan that will rescue you. You are now only minutes away from that rescue, but allow me to tell you from the very beginning, knowing that I needed help, I reached out to the person who at first glance would be the last to wish me joy, and yet one who I knew deep in her heart would be there when I needed her. I arrived unexpectedly at the door of nursemaid Novella and rapped upon the door. When she saw I was standing there, she exclaimed in surprise,
"Oh, it's you!"
I said, yes, it's me. Listen, pray. You know that I care for you as a friend, do you not? And this she could not deny.
"You used to care for me as a lover."
She said, true, you and I had a time, I said, and yet, like all seasons, our time faded. Surely you know, in your heart, it was what had to be. She dug deep into her heart, and she responded,
"I want to love you. However, you convinced me to steal a child. Yes, a child. And I fell in love with that child. And then you snatched him away again and absconded from justice."
yes, I said, unable to deny the truth. Yes, I behaved irrationally. Yes, you have no reason to forgive me. And yet I stand here, a man in love, pleading to another true heart who knows love. Forgive me anyway and help me.
Ah, be off with you!
Suddenly, Miss Austere appeared, not knowing what to do, not knowing if she was again going to stab me. I pulled out a pistol and fired right at her head. Boom!
"Thank you. He has been holding me hostage for weeks."
I was unaware that this impetuous action would bear such fruit, and yet so mysteriously do trees grow. Will you help me then?
"Yes. Yes, I'll help you."
At once, we concocted a plan which resulted in nursemaid Novella running quickly to the house of your mother and sister. When she arrived, she was escorted into the drawing room and served a cup of tea. And at once, she said to Lady Prosperine,
"Where's the baby?"
Lady Prosperine responded,
You insolent little insipid child. What baby?
Nursemaid Novella played it well and won Lady Prosperine's credulity.
"The baby that I cared for 9 months. The baby whom I love. The baby who does not know you. And the baby whose mother is being held captive right now because of you."
Oh, you mean this baby?
Said your sister as she burst into the room. And at once, nursemaid Novella sprang into action.
"Do
She
you fear for your life?"
threatened them at knife point, pulled the baby away with one arm, and before the two ladies knew what was what, she ran from the room, escaped past the dead, bloody corpse of the poor woman on the ground, and ran back to me. Then at once, delivering the baby unto me, she and I made haste in a stagecoach and traveled quickly towards your nunnery, where we stand outside the very window upon which you are encased. Look out, my love, and you will see us. Leap, and I will catch you. Leap, I tell you, your dearest love, Lord Clapton.
Madam Y, to nursemaid Novella. Dear nursemaid Novella, it is with awkwardness that I write this letter. I have complicated feelings when it comes to you, as I'm sure you will understand. I am both grateful and still harbor some resentment, I must say, for the trials You must understand, of course. However, when all is said and done, I have spent my life having found love and peace and being able to raise a happy and healthy child. Now, Miss Novella, with a new young one on the way, this time the making of me and my true loves of my life, we are going to need some help here. And I was wondering if you would come, stay with us, and care for our new child who will be due in just a few months. If you are willing to accept this position, we would be more than grateful. I was speaking to my husband, Robert, just last night about this arrangement, trying to sort out my complicated feelings, and he said to me,
I only care for you. Allow her to come.
When I expressed concern that perhaps you would kidnap the new child, he said,
It is time we lean on forgiveness rather than revenge.
And so it is in that spirit that I write to you, with forgiveness and hope, and the idea that we shall plant together a beautiful new garden. Yours, with flowers and rainbows, Madam Y, mother of two to be.
And thus comes to an end this collection of My Dearest Love, a series of dangerous letters. The end. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Let's bring the cast back out on stage. And on the count of three, let's take a great big bow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. We are Synergy Theater. We are here every week, Thursday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time and Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we are very proud to bring back Intergalactic Support Group. It's an outer space futuristic science fiction adventure, and you don't want to miss it. Please be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Allow me to take one more opportunity to remind you all that Synergy Theater is a small nonprofit arts organization. We have been greatly impacted by the pandemic, and it would do us very, very much if you would be kind enough to make a small donation to help us continue to bring these shows to you free and online. Please go to synergytheater.com, click on Support Synergy Theater, and make whatever amount donation is comfortable for you. It would go a very long way right now and be very, very much appreciated. Thank you all so much for being here. Please stay safe. Please take care of yourself. Synergy Theater loves you. Good night.